And I know things come up in life, but I know this is like easier said than done, but we need to plan and prepare that emergencies are going to happen and pre-plan some dollars for short-term needs, as well as save what we need to for our long-term need.
Peter, very good to see you. Welcome back to everyone. This topic today, by popular demand, we are talking about why you should not take a loan from your 401k. According to Transamerica Center for Retirement, about 34 to 37% of people have either taken a loan, early withdrawal, or a hardship withdrawal from their 401k. Borrowing from your 401k could mean missing out on market growth, penalties, taxes, and a reduced nest egg when you need it most. We're going to get into it. I want to throw a few more stats at you, though. First, most people think they are, of course, borrowing from themselves when they take a 401k loan. But according to Vanguard, the average 401k balance in 2024 was about $121,000, already not enough for retirement. So how could taking money out, even temporarily, set you back?
Well, this is by popular demand because taking these kind of loans and withdrawals is so popular. It demands that we address this issue because it really will set you back. Look, retirement is long and retirement is expensive today, but retirement is in the future for most people. So it's going to be even more expensive than it is today. And we need as many of these dollars working for us. If we have been able to live within our means and save and invest some of our income, like don't rob your future self and all of the earning ability of those dollars and what they could be doing for you. And a lot of times, Erin, digging beneath the surface of why these loans are taken, oftentimes these are not emergencies. These are not hardships. These are, I needed to buy a car, or I wanted to put a swimming pool in the backyard, or things like that, that we just should be going about this in a different way with a completely different mindset than the 401k is a piggy bank.
Mm-hmm. And you bring up a good point, Peter. Side note, it used to be that if you had a hardship withdrawal, you had to kind of prove it to your employer, but now you kind of self-verify, which is why I think people are taking it more like a piggy bank.
Yep. Yeah. Indeed. And it is not the point of it. So we really need to, once we've saved these dollars, mentally, emotionally earmark them, that we are not going to touch them until we reach their intended purpose, which is retirement.
Mm-hmm. And one of the primary reasons is, of course, compounding growth. Fidelity found that a 30-year-old who borrows $10,000 and misses out on just 5 years of growth could lose more than $25,000 by retirement. Can you explain how that math works?
Well, compounding interest is funny because we see that hockey stick at the end of it, but no matter where you miss out, if you miss out on any time along the way, it is not that end that has or it is not the time that you are taking that money out that you miss out on. It is the end where that hockey stick of growth is happening. So for instance, I mean, that 30-year-old, let's say they borrow $10,000 and that next year, just for simple math, is a 10% return. They have missed $1,000 just in that year. And if they do that for 5 years, that's $5,000. And then moving forward from there, let's say they get that 7% growth rate, like what is in the chart for a 30-year period. Well, it's at 7%, the money should double about every 10 years. So that $5,000 doubles to 10, doubles to 20, doubles to 40. I actually think that Fidelity may have undershot that a little bit by missing out on that amount of money. I think it's probably more than that. And again, no matter where you're at, if you start saving 5 years later or you miss years 5 through 10, it's not that almost flat part of the growth curve that you actually miss. You miss the end where those dollars could be compounding and hockey sticking for you.
Mm-hmm. And, it's funny, Peter, we were talking offline about this, but I feel like logically I knew it, but I didn't realize it until I was writing it down. A lot of people like me don't realize that while repayments on a 401k loan are made with after-tax dollars, withdrawals in retirement are taxed again as ordinary income. So this is like a double tax hit.
Well, when you earned the money and you made the contribution, if it's a traditional 401k, right? You got a deduction, You did not have to pay taxes on those dollars at that time. But when you take a loan, the money that you're paying back on the loan is not a contribution. You do not get that same deduction. You have to earn the money, you have to pay tax on the money, and you got to put it back inside of the 401k to reclaim that tax deferred status, essentially. And then from there, the money grows, and eventually in retirement, you pull it out as income. Well, you're taxed then. So what just happened is that you took tax deferred dollars, you loaned them to yourself, but you paid them back with taxable income. And then they go back into that tax deferred account, continue growing. And eventually when you withdraw them in retirement, they get taxed again. So yeah, a loan repayment essentially is going to be taxed twice. That further impacts the growth potential of the account.
It's really interesting that I guess I never put that together before. All right. So rules require that if you leave your job, the loan balance must usually be repaid by the tax filing deadline of the following year. With the average worker in the US changing jobs about every 4 years, what happens if someone can't repay in time?
It ends up being an unpleasant surprise, and penalties and interest and early withdrawal charges. So let's say that you took, this is a large figure here, but $100,000 loan out of a 401k. And well, we've got state and local taxes we might have to deal with, say, 8% off the top. And in a state like yours, Erin, maybe not so much in a state like mine. But then you have the early withdrawal penalty. Remember, if you're under 59 and a half, that is a 10% early withdrawal charge if you remove dollars from your 401k. And then there's a mandatory 20% withholding from withdrawals from 401ks. And oh, by the way, I was not expecting this, right? So I took this $100,000 as a loan. My intention was to pay it back, but then through some change in circumstance, I no longer am employed by my company. Well, number one, I probably already spent the money. And so I don't have it to just pay it back. I've got to come up with this $100,000 from someplace. And a lot of people can't do that immediately. Well, when you separate service or at the end of that tax year, this becomes a withdrawal. This is no longer a loan. And so the impact is that $100,000 loan you took becomes a $100,000 immediate taxable event, subject to all those taxes, early withdrawal charges, and you end up having a huge additional taxable event on your returns. You end up only netting a very small portion of, well, relatively to what you took out, a much smaller amount than what you loaned yourself, because now it's a withdrawal.
Yeah. All right. So then, Peter, times are hard right now for a lot of people. Inflation still running pretty hot. Before we tap our 401k, what are the better options?
Oh, first off, any other source that you can, right? Let's try with all efforts. And I get it. It's a source of funds. They have your name on it. They belong to you. If things are really bad, then that is something that people consider is like, I am having a true legitimate emergency or hardship. If it is not that, just delay gratification, if at all possible. If this is not a true emergency hardship, let's look at any other way to solve this problem and not take a loan from the 401k, not take a withdrawal from the 401k. But we should also be preparing for this along the way, because guess what? Life sometimes has unexpected and often expensive events. So the 401k should not be the only place that you have some accessible savings. In fact, we should think of the 401k as inaccessible. Those dollars are not to be touched until retirement, meaning that we need to have a different type of money, a different type of account, a different location for these dollars that is accessible. And we need to be able to say, hey, if a worst case scenario happens, I lose my job, I lose my income, I've got an emergency account here that is going to allow me not to tap into these 401k dollars. Because if we pull money out of retirement today, and we decrease what we've got there, like how many more additional years does that put that retirement goal back? Again, our example of that 30-year-old who borrowed, and in that example, he paid back that $10,000, right? But he borrowed $10,000 and missed out on like 25 or 30,000 by the time he was retirement age. We need to avoid that at all costs. And it simply is, we have to have a place that is liquid, available, accessible in case of emergency, that is completely separate than our retirement savings. And I know things come up in life, but I know this is like easier said than done, but we need to plan and prepare that emergencies are going to happen, and pre-plan some dollars for short-term needs, as well as save what we need to for our long-term need, our envisioned intentional unemployment of retirement. This is a time where we never plan on working again. We're going to have as much money as possible for it.
And I think there might be options out there that people who don't work with a financial advisor might not know. I mean, you and I just recorded a video on 6 things people may not know about Roth accounts, that you can take those contributions out. So perhaps for someone, again, while we shouldn't touch it, Peter, there might be better options.
And if you're like 55, if you're in short distance from that 59 and a half, there's actually a little provision in the tax code that can allow you to access some of your 401k without the 10% penalty. It's called a 72T. Maybe that's another option. So there are a few, but the main one to me, Erin, is when you earmark dollars for retirement, let's use them for their intended purpose. Let's have other dollars there. And whether that's Roth or tax deferred, either way, let's have other dollars there that are not retirement dollars in case of emergency.
All right. Well, Peter, if somebody would like to talk through, again, prioritizing their finances and wants to just, maybe they have a couple questions that came up while we were talking this through, what's the best way to reach you?
Give me a call, 919-300-5886, 919-300-5886. You can reach me through the website, RichonPlanning.com. You can email me, peter@RichonPlanning.com. And I try to help people, avoid financial missteps and mistakes and oversight. So if this is something you're even thinking about, let's talk about that. And if you've got an old 401k, don't leave that behind and dormant. Make sure you're keeping tabs and control on your money. If you have hit 59 and a half, it's a key milestone that you should probably roll out some of that 401k money. Take that in-service distribution. You've got more flexibility and options there. So there's a lot that goes into the decisions with our 401k that I think most everybody who's got one or has participated in one needs to know and understand to make the best choices possible. Absolutely. Peter, thank you. Thank you, Erin. Hey folks, Peter Richon here with Richon Planning. So glad that you are enjoying the podcast, Planning Matters Radio. One of the tools that we've put out there that people really seem to appreciate and really are finding of value is at 919retired.com. It is your retirement tax bill calculator. If you've got any kind of retirement account, your tax deferred, 401k, or IRA, this is the website, this is the resource where you can go, you can plug in your own numbers, your information, you can slide the tool calculator up and down for your tax rate or your amount of savings and see what your tax bill is likely to be if you default and defer to the IRS's plan versus what you could potentially bring that tax bill down to. A lot of times it is a very significant savings. So if you have not yet, go to the website 919retired.com, run your numbers on the retirement tax bill calculator.
This has been Planning Matters Radio.
The content of this radio show is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. You are encouraged to seek investment, tax, or legal advice from an independent professional advisor. Any investments and/or investment strategies mentioned involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, a registered investment advisor.
Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services. Advisory clients are charged a quarterly fee for assets under management management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.